Tonight on Cronkite News, the first vice presidential debate is tonight. We have a look into what you can expect from both candidates.
Plus, the longtime Arizona congressman says he will soon retire. Find out why Representative Raul Grijalva says this election will be his last. And the Diamondbacks come up short in their hunt to make the playoffs. After ending August with an impressive record, the team struggled to find success as the season moved on. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Brady Hansen. And I'm Ryan Posesnik. Thank you for joining us.
The vice presidential candidates meet tonight in New York. It
will be between Republican J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Walz, and this may be the last face-to-face debate of the campaign. Jackson Sutter reports from our Washington bureau that vice presidential debates have created some memorable moments in the past.
Former President Trump is refusing a second debate so far with Vice President Harris, so this 90-minute debate could be the last chance for voters to hear from each side at the same time. Both men on stage tonight are Midwesterners. Walz was elected governor of Minnesota 6 years ago after 12 years in Congress. He taught high school social studies and coached football. Vance is 20 years younger and won a Senate seat from Ohio just 2 years ago. He's a Yale-trained lawyer and author of Hillbilly Elegy. The first vice presidential debate was in 1976, and there's no evidence these debates affected any election so far. But it's a chance for the #1 campaign surrogate to make the case in prime time. Political experts say voters do look at the running mates as a sign of presidential nominees' approach. And some of the most memorable moments in campaign debate history have come from these matchups. In 2020, a fly landed on Vice President Mike Pence's head and wouldn't leave. In 1988, President George Bush's running mate, Dan Quayle, under attack as too young, pointed out that JFK was his age when he became president. Democrat Lloyd Benson delivered a knockout comeback.
Senator, I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
That was Jackson Sutter reporting from Washington. Tucson's longtime U.S. representative says he will step down after this year's election. Representative Raul Grijalva told Tucson TV station KOLD that it will soon be time to retire. He was elected to Congress in 2002 and has recently been undergoing treatment for lung cancer.
With a little over a month away from the general election, the Arizona Secretary of State's office says 120,000 more voters could be impacted by a registration error. This is in addition to the nearly 100,000 voters uncovered earlier this year. The problem comes from an Arizona law that requires voters to provide proof of citizenship. Since 1996, proof of citizenship was required to get a license in Arizona, and these voters obtained a driver's license before then. Last month, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled that the first batch of votes found by this glitch could still vote in this election.
For more local election coverage, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org/election2024.
Despite it being technically fall, Arizona is still reaching triple digits. Yesterday afternoon marked the 7th day in a row we either tied or broke the record. Iman Abraham joins us from the Cronkite Weather Center with more on this extreme heat.
Now, as we actually finish off September, we actually have a tie of a record high of 107 degrees yesterday, which is actually almost a 10-degree difference, as is normally around 96 degrees this time of year. Now, as we actually head into October, we will see that we have a record low temperature of 84 degrees, which normally around this time of year is 72 degrees. So if you are interested to see what's next for this week, make sure to tune in to your full feature forecast in a couple of minutes.
The Central Station Transit Center in downtown Phoenix now has a new name. As Ignacio Ventura tells us, this transit station is part of a 1 million square foot development featuring 2 residential towers plus retail and office space.
Right here in downtown Phoenix, people may spot a transit center that hasn't opened quite yet. However, it now has a new name in honor of a former Phoenix mayor. In 2015, Greg Stanton advocated for passing Transportation 2050, a voter-approved initiative for investing in street and transit improvements by the year 2050. The initiative has already made upgrades to the city's transit system, including expanding the light rail to where the Metro Center once stood. Transportation 2050 also comes as the population of Phoenix continues to grow. The naming ceremony featured appearances from many government officials ranging from Tempe Mayor Corey Woods to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
It is so wonderful to be here celebrating the naming of this transit station, which is the foundation of a landmark development project right here in the heart of the city. There's more energy now in downtown Phoenix than ever. You can feel it. The skyline is changing almost daily. And
Slated to open in early 2025, Central Station will transform how users experience the city's primary downtown bus and rail transit center, which serves 2 million people annually. In Phoenix, Ignacio Ventura, Cronkite News.
Thank you, Ignacio. Coming up, Washington, D.C. has many war memorials with millions of visitors each year.
For one special group, the memorials hold an extra special meaning.
A little overpowering. It's pretty simple, but it's pretty powerful.
When we return, the organization that is helping veterans visit these memorials and what these visits mean for those who served.
Coming up on the cut.
Coming up on the cut.
Coming up on the cut.
How students can build their broadcast journalism portfolio with opportunities to learn more about on-air reporting and studio production.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at @thecut_network and on X at @CutASU.
3, 2, 1. Cronkite News. Get real professional experience in areas such as reporting, broadcast editing, and behind-the-scenes production, such as technical director and audio.
Kill the mics.
Or go out in the field and cover important local stories.
To be able to learn and master the English language.
In a fun, welcoming atmosphere. Cronkite News. The future starts now.
Welcome back. Millions of tourists travel to Washington, D.C. every year to see the various war memorials.
As our Lauren Bly reports, that trip is especially important to a certain group of people.
I thought of my old buddies that weren't here.
Robert Brutinel is taken back to his time in World War II.
Didn't make it back home.
Remembering the harsh times of war, friends' lives that were lost.
This guy. This guy.
Ron Kennedy served in the Air Force in the Vietnam War, and he tells me that those names are of people he briefed right before a mission gone wrong.
They were on the plane. They were on the plane that went down.
This is Kennedy's first time here.
It's a little overpowering. It's pretty simple, but it's pretty powerful.
These veterans visit memorials that were built in honor of their service through the nonprofit Honor Flight Arizona. They take off from Phoenix and land in Washington, making each stop all in one day.
We do normally 10 flights a year. This year we're doing 8, and we carry usually about 35 vets per flight. And we have a long wait list of almost 1,400 Vietnam now waiting to go.
Each veteran's trip cost about $1,300 and made possible through donations. But once they get to D.C., memories flood in. For Brutinel, it was the use of a ship that carried him and his troop.
And the Higgins boat takes off, and they circle around till they all get loaded, and then they line up, straight line, and then go in. So they go all in at one time.
This name, Willie Cooper, was one that Vietnam vet Clayton Cooper knew all too well.
And we walked into a horseshoe ambush, and right the first words you always hear, medic. And I was a combat medic, and I got on my stomach and crawled about 50 feet away, and I got there, and Willie had a little hole between his eyes.
Clayton survived the war with severe injuries to his face and neck, but says there's a reason he's able to say goodbye to friends that weren't so fortunate.
The Lord spoke to me and said, the reason I saved you for his purpose, not mine.
In Washington, Lauren Bly, Cronkite News.
Honor flights take any veterans that served between World War II and April of 1975. To sign up, visit honorflightaz.org. Hurricane Helene has devastated parts of the southeastern U.S., flooding communities and destroying roads, leaving hundreds without power, food, cell service, and even a home.
At least 130 people are confirmed dead, including several first responders across 6 states, with the death toll expected to rise. The hurricane made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane with wind speeds reaching up to 140 miles per hour. By the time the storm reached Georgia, it was a Category 2, dumping large amounts of rain. Asheville, located in western Carolina, was hit especially hard, with officials describing it as, quote, a biblical devastation. More than 5,500 members of the National Guard from 11 states are supporting Hurricane Helene response missions. Back in the valley, it's been unreasonably warm. So how long will these triple-digit temperatures stick around?
Iman Abraham joins us from the Cronkite Weather Center for what we can expect.
Yes, we're actually going to take a look into these evening temperatures as we see a drop off around 10 p.m. of 98 degrees. We finally get away from those triple-digit numbers. However, it's still going to be quite hot. It's still going to be 100 even at 9 p.m. So please, just a heads up that it will be quite toasty later this evening. Now, as we take a look into these low temperatures, we will actually see that it is a little bit of a drop off around Phoenix at 79 degrees. However, we actually see a really low temperature up over by Window Rock at 38 degrees. Now, as we take a look at these high temperatures, it is really high, excessively high, especially over by the Arizona-California border. We will see 109 degrees and 108 degrees over here. Now, as we take a look at Phoenix, it is even 107 degrees. So it's still quite warm for tomorrow. Now, as we take a look into our 8-day forecast, we will actually see that it is 108 degrees and all the way 109 degrees on Saturday and Sunday, as it will be way above average, as it should be around 95 degrees this time of year. And even the low temperatures are well above average at around 78, 79 degrees, which average it should be around 72 this time of year. So we will start to see a little bit of drop off on Wednesday with a little bit of clouds at 104, but for the rest of the week, it will be in those triple-digit numbers. Now that is it for Cronkite Weather Center. I'm Iman Abraham. Now back to you guys.
Taking a look at news from around the world, Iran fired dozens of missiles into Israel today, prompting fears of a bigger conflict in the region.
No one was hurt, but sirens could be heard as the bombs fell. The Israel Defense Forces warning of, quote, serious consequences as a result of the attack. And Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard says the attack focused on security and military targets. Israel estimates 180 projectiles were fired toward the country. The attacks come on the same day Israel launched a ground operation against Hezbollah in Iran.
And in Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum has been sworn in as the country's first female president. She took the oath of office on floor of Congress earlier today. President Sheinbaum won nearly 60% of the vote. She said today is now the time for transformation in her country. Coming up next, Kenny Dillingham and the Sun Devils will host their first Big 12 conference game.
They face off against the Kansas Jayhawks. After the break, ASU hopes to bounce back after their first loss of the season against Texas Tech.
Cronkite News. Get real professional experience in areas such as reporting, broadcast editing, and behind-the-scenes production, such as technical director and audio.
Kill the mics.
Or go out in the field and cover important local stories.
To learn and master the English language.
In a fun, welcoming atmosphere. Cronkite News. The future starts now.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
this is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage.
Against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news.
The bill also gives parents the ability to sue.
And entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
Here at the Walter Cronkite School, students produce award-winning content that focuses on health disparities in underserved communities and how to turn things around. In Cronkite News and Cronkite Noticias, students cover stories that affect people of color, the LGBTQ+ community, people with disabilities, and others across the Southwest.
We highlight big problems that are often overlooked in communities that are underserved.
Those stories not only inform and educate people about the challenges, but we work hard to highlight potential solutions. In the Cronkite Agency, students work to connect with community members through social media campaigns in English and Spanish.
Being a Hispanic myself, it's nice to be able to give back to my own community.
Find more of our health coverage at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Welcome back to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Jason Goldie. The Diamondbacks cleaned out their lockers today as they closed the book on the 2024 season. The D-backs were eliminated from the postseason yesterday and will replay each loss in their minds for days to come.
Yeah, there's obviously a couple games you could go back to, but I mean, there's 162 of them. I don't know, we lost 70 or whatever. You could probably pick something out of most of those that individually, as a team, we all could have done better.
Mike said it best. We should be in Milwaukee right now. We all know that, and we're not. And I'm bitter, and I got to figure out a way to work through that. And I will when it's the right time, and then we're going to charge forward. We're already starting on next year. That's what we do here.
So what went wrong for the D-backs? At the end of August, the Snakes were 7 games up in the wild card standings and only 3 games behind the Dodgers for the division title. But they went 14-17 the rest of the way. In contrast, the Mets went 21-10, and the Braves also played winning ball down the stretch. The month of September made all the difference. Of course, it came down to that doubleheader between the Mets and the Braves yesterday. Just like the players, fans sat glued to the TV watching that twin bill. Guy Fieri's restaurant at Chase Field held a watch party. Fans quickly became Mets fans after New York took Game 1. The Snakes needed the Mets to sweep the Braves, but in the later innings it became clear that the Braves were going, and that knocked the D-backs out of the playoffs. While fans felt bad that the season was over, they also remained optimistic about the future.
It's disappointing, but the best part about sports and the competitive nature of it is, there is always next season. That's the best part about sports is, you always have next season to kind of, set the precedence on years to come and kind of make a name for yourself in that way.
It's frustrating, but, we have to be positive, look forward to the future, and come back stronger next year. That's all we can do.
To hockey now, where Arizona State hockey is back on the ice. The team has some changes in store for the upcoming season. Kayla Marianaw has more on what's new for the Sun Devils.
Coming off a program record 24-win season, Arizona State hockey is ready for their next milestone. The Sun Devils skate into the National Collegiate Hockey Conference for the first time this season, joining 8 other teams.
We know how tough the league is. We respect how tough the league is. In our last 15 games in this league, we have an over 500 record, and we think we have a better team this year than we've ever had. So our expectations, I think, are realistic.
ASU added 12 new players, 6 of them transfers, and the Sun Devils are ranked 20th in the country by the United States College Hockey Online. Coach Greg Powers is hopeful the new additions will help with the conference transition.
We wanted to build an old team this year, and we did. full of kids that maybe transferred from places that have been through the rigors of a really tough league schedule, and hopefully that pays off.
After joining a new conference, the Sun Devils hold the spotlight of hockey in the desert following the Arizona Coyotes' departure.
And obviously it's a shame that the Coyotes left, but it's honestly good for us because now we're the best hockey in Arizona. So just from fans that I've talked to and previous season ticket holders for the Coyotes, it seems like everyone's going to be flooding into our games, but it also comes with big responsibility.
Those responsibilities will include continuing to build the youth hockey community here in the Valley.
It's a privilege, to be honest. We've done a bunch of community work already with youth programs and whatnot around the Valley, so we're up for the task. I know Powers is like he's been around the desert for longer than any of us, so I think he really embraces that role, and he's kind of pushing that onto us for sure.
With the shift in hockey culture, the Sun Devils are looking to shoot and score and keep celebrating the sport here in the desert. In Tempe, Kayla Marinot, Cronkite News.
Arizona State starts off the season with a non-conference game at the Air Force Academy this weekend. Head coach Kenny Dillingham will look to lead the football team into its first Big 12 conference test. The Kansas Jayhawks will visit Tempe for the first time this season following a loss to TCU.
I told the guys today, we got to get back to playing the game really hard. We didn't play the game very hard. Not as hard as we had in weeks 1 and 2. And the more I watched it on tape, the more you see it. And we got to get back to playing the game really, really hard. And it's a simple game if you play it really hard. We got to get back to that being a strength, not just a tie for us. That's got to be an advantage.
This morning, the Gonzaga Bulldogs announced that they will be leaving the West Coast Conference to join the new Pac-12. Since the exodus of Pac-12 teams like ASU, Oregon, and others leaving the league, the Pacific-based conference has seen a surge of new teams. First, there was Boise State and Colorado State, then the Fresno State Bulldogs and San Diego State Aztecs, followed up by Utah State, and lastly, Gonzaga joined the party. They are all expected to officially make the jump in July 2026. From what looked like a dead conference, now has life once again. The GCU men's basketball team will tip off their new season in about a month from now. And after last year's success saw the Antelopes reach the round of 32, they will look to go even farther this upcoming season. GCU will be returning some notable pieces from last year's squad, most notably the Antelopes' leading scorer in Tyon Grant Foster. Grant Foster had previously declared for the NBA draft, but decided to withdraw and return to the program for another season. With a team comprised of veteran talent and incoming freshmen, the Lopes understand the level of expectation going into the season will be about reaching new heights.
We know we can do, and we're trying to get the pieces that came to some of them that we played against as well. They know what we can do, so we're trying to get them to mesh with us so we can do even better than we did last year.
We have guys that have been very successful at other programs that are coming here and may start or may not start this year, and so we like the ability to have different lineups, different guys that can go out.
That's it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to Brady and Ryan.
Coming up next, former President Jimmy Carter is celebrating a huge milestone.
That's right, Brady. Today marks 100 years of Carter circling the sun. Carter was president from 1977 to 1981. We'll tell you how he is making history after the break.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
This is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage,
Against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news,
The bill also gives parents the ability to sue.
and entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
Innovation at the Walter Cronkite School is pushing the boundaries of traditional journalism.
Storytelling has evolved over the years. This is part of that evolution.
Students in the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Lab are using emerging technology to create scenes in augmented and virtual reality, coding playable games, and bringing the audience into the story.
They're only limited by their imagination and their willingness to learn.
Find out more at cronkite.asu.edu.
Two, one.
Coming up on the cut.
Coming up on the cut. Coming up on the cut.
How students can build their broadcast journalism portfolio with opportunities to learn more about on-air reporting and studio production.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at @thecut_network and on X at @CutASU.
Today, Jimmy Carter turned 100 years old.
He is the first president in the U.S. history to hit the centennial mark. A number of events to celebrate are in the works, including a flyover of military jets over his hometown. Carter entered hospice care in February of 2023 after a series of hospital stays. He is a survivor of brain and liver cancer and underwent brain surgery in fall of 2019. That's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Ryan Posesnik.
And I'm Brady Hanson. Thank you for joining us.